Welcome to the strange world of Adobe. In 2025, Adobe's revenue passed $23 billion, with profit margins most companies envy. But here's the twist: Adobe's stock price keeps falling. Headlines talk about lawsuits, competition, and unhappy customers. How can a company make so much money, but still seem to be in trouble? Adobe sells core tools for creative work: Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere, and more. Millions depend on them every day. But lately, customers are complaining and competitors are growing. Investors worry Adobe's golden years might be over. Why? The answer is complicated. This is the paradox at the heart of Adobe. Adobe started small, but quickly became the king of creative software. In the 1990s and early 2000s, if you wanted to design a magazine, edit a photo, or make a video, you used Adobe. Photoshop became a verb. Can you Photoshop this? Meant, can you make it look better? Adobe's tools were everywhere, from Hollywood movies to school yearbooks. How did Adobe pull this off? Part of it was timing. The company released its programs just as personal computers were getting powerful enough for creative work. Adobe made software that was reliable, flexible, and, for professionals, worth the high price. Designers, publishers, and ad agencies all standardized on Adobe. If you wanted a job in the creative world, you learned Photoshop and Illustrator. Adobe didn't just rest on its success, it kept buying smaller companies and adding their tools to its own. That's how it got programs like After Effects for animation and Acrobat for PDFs. Over time, Adobe's Creative Suite became the only toolbox most creative professionals needed. This dominance gave Adobe enormous power. It could set prices, change features, and make the rules for an entire industry. But being on top also made Adobe a target. As technology changed, so did people's expectations, and competitors began to circle. For a long time, buying software was simple. You went to a store, bought a CD, installed the program, and owned it forever. That started to change around 2012 when Adobe made a huge decision. Instead of selling its Creative Suite as a one-time purchase, it moved everything to the Creative Cloud. Now users paid a monthly or yearly fee to use Adobe's apps. This subscription model was a goldmine for Adobe. Suddenly, the company got steady income every month, instead of just when new versions came out. Revenue soared. Wall Street loved it. Adobe's executives said it was better for customers too. Updates would arrive faster. Tech support would improve. Creative tools would always be up to date. But many users felt betrayed. They didn't like paying forever for software they never really owned. If you stopped paying, your tools stopped working. Students and small businesses found the monthly fees hard to afford. Some people even switched to older versions or pirated copies. The subscription change made Adobe richer, but it sowed seeds of anger among its most loyal users. This tension would come back to haunt the company as competition grew and customer trust began to erode. Adobe's switch to subscriptions worked, at first, but soon, complaints started piling up. Customers said it was hard to cancel their plans. Some found themselves locked into year-long contracts with huge early cancellation fees. Others said Adobe's website hid important details in fine print. Social media filled with angry posts about Adobe traps. In 2024, these problems caught the government's attention. The United States Department of Justice launched an investigation into Adobe's billing practices. The result, a major lawsuit. The DOJ accused Adobe of hiding fees and making it too hard for people to cancel. Eventually, Adobe agreed to pay millions in fines and promised to change its ways. This scandal hurt Adobe's reputation. People began to see it as a greedy, tricky company. The headlines were brutal. Even customers who loved Adobe's software started to wonder if the company really cared about them or just about making more money. The fallout was more than just bad press. Trust is hard to rebuild, especially in an industry where creative professionals see themselves as artists, not just customers. Adobe's problems with hidden fees made many wonder if it was losing touch with the people who built its success. While Adobe was making money from subscriptions, new challengers appeared. Startups like Canva and Figma offered something different. Their apps were in the cloud, easy to use, and often free, at least to start. You didn't need to be a pro designer to make a great-looking flyer or website. Canva, from Australia, focused on basic design for everyone. Teachers, students, small businesses, anyone could just drag and drop shapes and photos to create something cool. It spread fast on social media. Figma, meanwhile, targeted professional designers, especially those working together online. Its real-time collaboration tools made it perfect for teams. These new tools didn't do everything Adobe could, but they did enough. And, honestly, they kept getting better. Soon, big companies started switching to Figma for UI design. Canva became the default for quick social media graphics. Millions of people who never would have used Photoshop were now designing with Canva or Figma every day. Adobe still had the most powerful tools, but its grip was slipping. The creative world was changing, and competition was no longer just about features. It was about price, speed, and accessibility. Adobe saw the threat from Figma early. In 2022, it announced plans to buy Figma for $20 billion, a massive sum, even for Adobe. The idea was simple: if you can't beat your biggest rival, buy them. But regulators in the US and Europe worried Adobe was trying to crush competition. After months of debate, the deal collapsed. Not only did Adobe fail to buy Figma, it also had to pay a $1 billion breakup fee. The failed merger sent shockwaves through the tech world and made Adobe look weak. Figma walked away richer and more independent than ever. It showed Adobe couldn't always buy its way out of trouble. Not long after, Adobe made its next big bet: artificial intelligence. In 2023, it launched Firefly, a set of AI tools built into Creative Cloud. Firefly could generate images, suggest designs, and even write copy. Adobe promised these tools would supercharge creativity and save professionals hours of work. Some users were impressed. They liked having AI help with boring or repetitive tasks. Agencies and big companies saw a way to save time and money. But, many creative professionals felt uneasy. Would AI replace their jobs? Would it steal their work to train itself? Some artists accused Adobe of using their old projects to feed the AI, without permission. The backlash grew. Social media buzzed with stories about AI-generated art flooding the internet. Artists wondered if their skills would still matter. Meanwhile, Adobe kept pushing its AI tools, arguing that they were just another way to help people create. The debate continues. For Adobe, AI is both a big opportunity and a huge risk. It could help the company stay ahead, or drive away the very users who made it famous. Adobe's new focus on AI and data-driven tools has many creative users worried. Some fear that Adobe is moving away from artists and designers, chasing bigger profits from corporate clients instead. Creative professionals, once the heart of Adobe's business, are starting to feel left out. There's a real risk here. If Adobe relies too much on automation, it could make creative work feel less special. Users might decide that free or cheaper tools are good enough. Or they might leave Adobe altogether, frustrated by rising prices and unwanted features. The company's Creative Cloud could become just another business platform. On the other hand, companies love automation. Big brands want faster, cheaper ways to make ads and social media posts. If Adobe succeeds in selling its AI tools to businesses, it could become richer than ever, but also less relevant to individual creators. The danger is clear. In chasing new markets, Adobe might abandon the people who made it great. That could open the door for Canva, Figma, and other startups to take over the creative world Adobe once ruled. Adobe's story is far from over. It still makes more money than any other creative software company. Its tools are everywhere, in schools, studios, and offices around the world. But the landscape is changing fast. New competitors, angry customers, government fines, and the rise of AI all threaten Adobe's future. Will Adobe adapt and stay on top? Can it win back the trust of creative professionals? Or will it turn into just another tech giant, loved by shareholders but ignored by the artists who once depended on it? The answer may depend on whether Adobe can balance innovation with respect for its users. It must prove that it can change without losing its soul. The next few years will be a test of Adobe's vision, its values, and its place in the creative world. Will it rise to the challenge, or become another cautionary tale about the dangers of success? Only time will tell.